You know that feeling, right? That just searing heat when anger hits, like a punch to the gut.
Oh, yeah.
And you open your mouth, words pour out, and maybe 2 seconds later, you're already wishing you could just, I don't know, rewind time.
Absolutely. It's that classic human thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The reaction just completely steamrolls reason.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotional brain, the amygdala, just wins the sprint against the part that thinks about consequences. Happens so fast.
And the damage,
Yeah.
it can stick around.
Well, that whole feeling, that desperate wish to just stop that reflex, that's exactly what led us to the source material for this deep dive.
Right.
We're looking at a really powerful sort of legendary behavioral story. It's from a source called How to Control Your Anger Power of Silence.
It sounds simple, but honestly, the wisdom in it is packaged for immediate use. It's brilliant.
So our mission today is really to unpack this story, get past this setting, and pull out the core mechanism. Find that shortcut the main character, David, stumbled upon. Yeah, the thing that helped him break a lifetime habit of just exploding.
Okay, so let's set the scene. David, the source says he lives in this, picture-perfect, quiet village, green hills, the whole deal.
Yeah, sounds lovely. But he wasn't peaceful. Not at all.
No, he was kind of the opposite. Defined by this incredibly short fuse, a hair-trigger temper.
And it wasn't just mild irritability, was it? The source emphasizes how hurtful his words were.
Exactly. So cutting, so destructive that people just kept their distance. Family, neighbors, everyone.
He made himself incredibly isolated, a sort of walking social hazard, you could say.
But here's the thing that really struck me, the paradox of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down, the source says he felt terrible afterward, really bad. He didn't actually want to hurt anyone.
Right. But when the anger took hold, he just couldn't control it.
Couldn't rein it in. He was completely fed up with feeling angry and alone. That phrase really hits home.
And that feeling, that being fed up,
Yeah.
that's often the necessary starting point for real change, isn't it? He wasn't looking for a small tweak. He was desperate.
Desperate. So when this wise monk comes to town, famous for helping people find peace, David sees his chance.
He waits, lets the crowd thin out, and then approaches the monk.
And he just lays it bare, doesn't he? Basically says, look, I say horrible things I regret. It's ruining my life. Can you give me anything to break this habit?
Such a raw, honest plea. And you'd expect, maybe, advice on meditation, breathing, years of practice.
Right. Something complex, but no. The monk disappears for a bit and comes back with a small glass bottle.
Seems almost like a gimmick, doesn't it? A bit anticlimactic.
Oh, totally. And the instructions sound, almost ritualistic, very specific.
Okay, lay them out for us.
Whenever David feels that anger starting to bubble up, he has to do 2 things. First, take exactly 3 small, slow sips from this bottle.
3 sips, slow ones. Got it.
Second, immediately after sipping, he has to stay completely quiet for a little while. Just silence.
Okay.
And he must do this every single time he starts getting upset. No exceptions.
Okay, 3 sips, then silence. Every time.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit strange.
I know, right? Why the bottle? Why the sips? If the point is to pause, why not just, tell him to count to 10 or take deep breath?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of why this works from a behavioral standpoint.
Okay.
Think about it. When you're genuinely furious, someone saying, calm down or count to 10 often just makes it worse.
Oh, definitely.
Because it requires conscious effort from the rational brain, which at that moment is basically offline. It's been hijacked.
Right, the emotional brain's in charge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this ritual, finding the bottle, uncorking it, the physical act of taking 3 slow sips, it acts like a physical anchor, a pattern interrupt.
Yeah, so it's not mental effort, it's a physical task.
Precisely. It's like structured scaffolding for self-control. When the rage hits, he doesn't have to think about calming down. He just has to do the ritual.
And that action physically stops him from yelling for a few seconds.
It interrupts the old pathway trigger straight to outburst and replaces it with this new, harmless physical habit. The sips themselves aren't the magic. The ritualized delay is.
Okay, that makes way more sense. It's buying time physically.
Exactly. It forces a pause and physically occupies his mouth.
So the very next day, he gets a chance to try it out. He's at the bakery normal routine and bang, someone cuts right in front of him.
I like classic trigger, right? The kind of small injustice that would usually set him off.
Totally. But this time, he remembers the monk's instruction. He finds the bottle.
Does the ritual.
Takes those 3 sips, slowly, deliberately, and then silence. He bites his tongue.
Yeah, what happens to the anger?
Because he didn't immediately add fuel to the fire with his own angry words, the source says the feeling just started to lose its power. It began to fade after a few moments.
The cycle was broken because the usual exit, the shouting, was blocked by the sips and the silence.
Yeah, and he stuck with it. The source mentions he did this religiously for 10 days. Every flare-up, grab the bottle, 3 sips, quiet time.
It became his go-to response, his shield, like you said.
And the changes weren't just internal, were they? That's what's fascinating.
No, the external shift was huge. He noticed, obviously, that he felt calmer, less volatile. But the real kicker was how others started reacting to him.
Tell me more about that.
His home environment changed. It felt more peaceful. His family, who must have been constantly walking on eggshells before,
Yeah, imagine.
they started speaking to him more gently, more openly. The fear was gone.
That's such a powerful feedback loop. He changes his output, and the entire system around him responds differently.
Exactly. It's classic positive reinforcement, but the silence part seems crucial here.
How so? Why is the silence itself so effective in changing how others react?
Well, a couple of things, I think. First, it removes the unpredictability. Before, people were bracing for an explosion. That creates constant tension.
Right.
When he became reliably silent under pressure, that tension just dissolved. People could relax around him again. Trust started rebuilding, like, instantly.
Okay, that makes sense. Predictable silence is calming.
And second, I think the silence allowed his true nature, that regretful, kind person underneath, to finally be seen. His own hurtful words weren't constantly masking it anymore.
Wow. So the silence let the real David emerge.
In a way, yes. Okay, so fast forward 10 days. He's been doing the ritual. Life is changing. Things are looking up. But the bottle's empty.
Right. So naturally, he thinks he's run out of medicine. He goes back to the monk, super grateful.
Probably beaming, right?
Yeah.
Thinking, this stuff is amazing.
Totally. He says, it worked. The remedy was incredible, but I'm all out. Can I please have some more?
He's still thinking the magic was in the liquid.
Yeah.
He hasn't made the connection yet.
Exactly. And this is the moment, the big reveal, the core of the deep dive.
The monk just smiles, right, gently.
Yeah. And he drops the bombshell. There was no remedy in that bottle. It was just water.
Boom. Imagine David's face.
Well,
Just water.
Just plain water. And the monk explains it all.
This is the crucial part. The why.
It wasn't the water at all. It was the silence, the delay. That whole ritual, the sips, the quiet afterwards, it created just a brief pause. A few seconds to cool off before reacting.
And that pause, that tiny window, that's where the real strength lies. The ability to choose a response instead of just acting on raw impulse.
Let's dig into the neuroscience of that pause for a second,
Right.
because it's fascinating. The monk was like an accidental behavioral therapist. What's actually happening in the brain during those 3 seconds?
Okay, so when something triggers you, the person cutting in line, an insult, whatever the first responder in your brain is usually the amygdala. Primal, fast, fight or flight. That's the rage source.
Got it. Instant reaction.
Super fast. Faster than conscious thought, faster than speech often, but that deliberate delay. The physical act of sipping and not speaking for, say, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It forces the brain to reroute the signal. It gives the information just enough time to travel from the fast, emotional amygdala to the prefrontal cortex.
The thinking part. The CEO of the brain.
Exactly. The part responsible for planning, judgment, understanding consequences.
Yeah.
Those few seconds are the only gap you have to switch tracks from pure reaction to a considered response.
So if you blurt something out immediately, the amygdala wins. Game over.
Pretty much. But if you can force that pause through any means, really, the bottle was just David's tool. You give the prefrontal cortex a chance to step in and say, hang on, maybe yelling isn't the best idea here.
I love that framing. The pause isn't just about calming down. It's about facilitating a neurological handoff.
Yeah.
From the hothead to the strategist.
Beautifully put. And that's what the monk was explaining. True strength isn't being the loudest shouter. It's having the self-control to access that wiser part of your brain, even when you're seeing red.
And the cost of not pausing, the monk really hammers this home.
He does. He reminds David that those reactive words, they cut deep. And crucially, those are words you can never take back.
Oof, that hits hard, but it's true. The pause is like an emotional safety lock you can't undo later.
It just creates that vital space. Silence lets the storm inside settle a bit, clears the mental fog. That's where the real change happens, in that gap between feeling and acting.
And David got it. Eventually, he didn't need the bottle anymore.
Right. He'd internalized the process. The habit wasn't rage anymore. The habit became the pause. The bottle was just training wheels.
So his words got softer, his life got lighter, more peaceful, just from learning to insert that tiny delay.
So the big takeaway for everyone listening, if you struggle with, well, any kind of instant, regrettable reaction, anger, sure, but maybe snapping impatiently or firing off a snarky email, the answer might not be some huge, monumental effort of willpower. It might just be creating a simple, reliable, physical ritual, something that forces a pause. Just 3 seconds can be enough.
It really flips the script on what we think of as strength, doesn't it? We often equate strength with being forceful, assertive, loud, maybe.
Yeah, pushback.
But this parable shows real strength is in that moment of control, the pause, the ability to choose your response instead of letting the emotion dictate it.
And if you practice that pause, those few seconds become powerful. They build better relationships, lead to fewer regrets. It's not about never feeling angry or frustrated. That's impossible. We're human.
Right.
It's about learning to recognize the feeling rising and then deploying your little ritual, whatever it is, to buy yourself the time to manage the output.
This is so practical, you can apply it immediately. Tense meeting at work, frustration with the kids, reading something online that makes your blood boil.
That 3-second delay may be triggered by just, I don't know, taking a slow sip of water you already have, or consciously putting your phone down for a beat. It can be the difference between escalating things and finding peace.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to that final thought we'd like to leave you with. Something to chew on.
Okay.
If the only thing standing between wisdom and regret in moments of anger is a simple, silent, 3-second physical delay, what other impulsive habits could you potentially change? Think about things like impulse shopping online, or hitting snooze for the 5th time, or immediately saying yes to a request you'll regret. What if you built in a tiny, mandatory physical ritual before acting on those impulses?
Like standing up and turning around before clicking buy, or having to walk to the kitchen and back before hitting snooze again.
Exactly. Could that structured pause be the real remedy, not just for anger, but for a whole range of things we wish we had more control over? The power isn't in a magic potion, it's in the deliberate pause.